Former college quarterback at Iowa State, spent time in the NFL as well and a part of Sirius XM and many things, the Big 12 Radio Network as well. Joins us Dave Archer on SicEm 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. Dave, you were at Big 12 Media Days. It's been a week. It seemed like it was a month ago with all the different thoughts and changes and reports. But let me ask you this. If you see what the Pac-12 has or those who could be available, which ones do you think make the most sense if, in fact, the Big 12 tries to expand?
Well, Smokey, that's kind of a several parts question, right? If you're looking for the money part of it, which it seems like everything is a money grab right now, Oregon, from a value standpoint, makes a lot of sense. I don't know that Washington does, but certainly that Seattle market, I guess. The two Arizona schools make some sense because of the Phoenix market, which I know is 11 or 12 in the country if you're looking at it from a TV market standpoint. But from a pure football value standpoint, Oregon and Utah to me make the most sense. If you're going to add two, if you're going to add four, then you begin to maybe look at expand and look market wise as opposed to football value. The problem with that is, Smokey, and I know you guys have been chopping it up, for Baylor to go to Eugene, not a big deal. But for West Virginia to go to Eugene to play a game, that is a big deal in basketball or in volleyball or whatever the other sport may be. So there's a lot of parts to the question. But from a pure football standpoint, and I guess a selfish fan standpoint in me, I'd love to see Utah and Oregon, who have been the two best programs in that conference for the last several years. Those are the two teams I'd go get.
Dave, are you surprised at how quickly the Pac-12 has gotten to this point of just a year ago, no, we don't want anything to do with the Big 12, to now of maybe they're the only lifeline that they'll have?
It really is interesting, isn't it, guys? Because last year we were kind of holding our breath within the Big 12 as to, okay, who are the Pac-12 going to try to poach? Are they going to try to grab Baylor and Oklahoma State and some of the teams that are at the top of the conference and run away with those two teams or four teams and potentially leave us with nothing? And they didn't. And I don't know why they didn't. Was it a spirit of the game thing? George Kliavkoff and Bob Bowlesby had conversations. They maintained their own entities. And here we are with the shoe completely on the other foot. And everybody that I can talk to about the Big 12, go raid them. Go take anything you can. Get everything you can get from them. So it's really odd and really strange, a strange situation that both these conferences find themselves in just a year removed from when the shoe was completely on the other foot.
Dave, the Big 12 had a little bit of uncertainty when it was announced they were going to go on the hunt for a new commissioner. Brett Yormark ended up being the guy. A lot of people said who, went to Google and figured out a little bit more, but we finally got to hear him. And a lot of people got to do interviews like ourselves, kind of one-on-one-ish with him. What were your thoughts about Brett Yormark and just what you heard and the timing of it all? I mean, it seems just about perfect given his kind of vision, although we're still learning what that is. But, I mean, the news this week and the fact that he was just talking about being on the hunt a few days ago, just your thoughts on the Yormark start.
Well, yeah, I was impressed, guys. I think that everybody that listened to him talk and certainly listened to his message was impressed. I thought that, things that obviously stuck out. Hey, we're open for business. Another thing that I liked, that's a guy that's a New Yorker. I don't know how much time he spent in Waco, Texas, or Lubbock, Texas, or Fort Worth as far as that goes. Ames, Iowa was certainly not on his map and on his radar. But what he said was he was going to spend the next 60 days, he was going to embed himself in the conference, and he was going to go and spend time at each one of these universities and try to get some superficial feel, and that's all you could get in 60 days, as to what the different campuses were like, what the people there were like, and try to get a feel for it. Because let's face it, it's a guy that's coming in that's a fresh-faced guy that I don't know. He probably could have named all the Big 12 schools and where they are and what cities they're in. So I like that. I do like the fact that he's a forward-thinking guy when it comes to what this TV thing might look like, and that seems to be the first and foremost in a lot of people's minds. Certainly from an administrator standpoint, at these different schools, is the Big 12 going to be one of those conferences that's going to be able to garner maybe that third best TV deal? And it certainly looks like they could be in position to do that.
Dave, Aranda's been around for a couple of years. You've watched him. We've talked about it, you and I, many different times, among others. How would college football be if there were like 100 of him?
My God, we'd be smart, wouldn't we? We would be a smart community if you had Dave Aranda's everywhere. I don't know that we could take it. It'd be such a think tank, and it would be such a. I marvel at listening to him. I think Smokey, you and I have talked about how the first time we got a chance to talk to Aranda, it was like that old E.F. Hutton commercial. Remember how everybody kind of leaned in when he started to talk because there was words of wisdom going to drop out of this guy's mouth, and you got to make sure you're scooping all of it up. We, unfortunately, Ari Tempkin, who's my partner on Big 12 Radio, Ari got into the philosophical side of things with him, and he was more than willing to go there as far as talking about development of young men, development of your program, and the deep thinking thoughts that go into that. And Dave certainly has given a lot of thought to what Baylor's supposed to look like, what he wants to do, and how he wants to continue to keep Baylor at the top of the program, not just the top of the conference, at the top of the country when it comes to football. I didn't get a chance to talk to him as much about football because if you go into football, I know you guys have done this, you get him talking about how to manipulate an offense defensively by showing a certain look, muddy the water for a quarterback, and the next thing you know, we're coming with a six-man pressure off the left side. He's marvelous at that as well. So I don't know there's enough accolades I could drop on Dave Aranda. Just so impressed with the guy. He's so involved with these young men's lives and how important it is for them to be good people. And then obviously that translates, he thinks, and it has. And we saw it last year. That translates to the field because you can be counted on.
Dave, maybe you have a finger on this pulse better than I do, but we just kind of broached this on this expansion and everything in regards to something that Dave Aranda said about, conferences and big entities weaponizing their power. Have any of us in college football that aren't a TV network exec or a conference president asked for any of this as fans?
No, you're talking about the realignment thing?
Yeah, all the stuff that's going on, yeah.
Yeah, the thing that bothers me most about this is the thing that it seems to be pointing to, and I've talked a lot about this on Big 12 radio on Sirius XM, is the fact that it almost seems like the NFL model is a great one, and it makes billions and billions of dollars. We know that. The college football model is doing pretty good by itself as well, and we don't have to necessarily pay our players or we've got to have some kind of 12-team playoff or anything, any NFL scenario there. We've been doing pretty good on our own as far as, but we're kind of trending towards that NFL model. So what's that look like? Okay, let's say we get 64 teams that end up being in 3 super conferences. Well, at some point, you're going to divide those teams up into divisions or pods to create a playoff structure where you're going to get 8 or 12 teams into a playoff. Don't we already have that?
Yeah.
Doesn't it already exist? It's called the Pac-12. It's called the Big 12. It's called the Big 10, the SEC, and the ACC. And then you get these odd-on teams that come out of the Power 5 that create some storylines like Cincinnati a year ago. But we already had that. So it's almost like we're reinventing the wheel here so I can get a little bit more money in the coffer, it seems to be. And it's mind-boggling and maddening to me, but hey, it's the direction we're going. We're still going to get play on Saturday, I guess.
Seems like a long road to just have the power that was in the hands of the NCAA away from the NCAA and doing it by yourself.
Yeah, and then you blame the NCAA for not doing anything when you took the power away from them in the first place. Yeah. What do you want them to do?
Dave, in terms of just the Big 12 conference, I feel like there's probably going to be a ton of podcasts, if there aren't already, just talking about all the storylines and far too many to address with you one by one. I mean, I think every team is kind of unique, but even with the OU Texas stuff that we know they're leaving here in the next couple of years, everybody's playing nice. You had reps, from the 4, or I guess a couple of the 4 new schools that were there. We saw the UCF guys hanging out. Just what kind of a sense did you get from the conference? Because to me, as dysfunctional as it can be quite often, it seems like everybody's respectful. Everybody kind of is sharing the same vision for right now at least, and there's a lot of teams, almost all of them, that feel like they can be better this year. Your thoughts coming out of media days just overall on what to expect this season team-wide?
Yeah, I had a chance to visit with the BYU people there as well. You mentioned UCF was there, BYU was there, and I had a chance to visit with them for quite a while. You guys have a kind of a burgeoning maybe rivalry with BYU, having knocked them off in your place last year. I know I know the Bears go to play in Provo, which is a very difficult place to play. That's going to be a heck of a game to watch BYU and Baylor play this year early in the year. But I think that the thing that I took away the most is the optimism. It seems to reign always during this time. And then the uncertainty, because I would have liked to have seen or found something out at Big 12 Media Days that, oh, yeah, okay, well, Baylor's certainly going to walk away with the conference. Oh, I can see it. Okay, Oklahoma's good. I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Everybody's got optimism. Everybody's got question marks. You look at you guys' team, Shapen's taken over. I think he's a tremendous player. Are there enough weapons around him? Do we know enough about his weapons? We know you're going to be pretty good along the offensive, defensive lines. Are you going to have a guy like Petrie or Terrell Bernard that can make plays? And those kind of questions that Baylor has, I think they probably feel like they have those guys. Just not a lot of experience, but those guys are there. That's what everybody else has as well. And so I think it's so intriguing in this conference. We can't just pick Alabama and Georgia are going to control things like they are in the SEC. Here, you're not sure. Is Venables' defense going to be any good?
Right.
Is Dylan Gabriel going to make the transition to Levy's offense after having been in it a couple of years ago? Does that work there? I mean, what's the quarterback situation look like at TCU with Sonny Dykes throwing it all over the field? Can Adrian Martinez make the changeover from Nebraska to a really good Kansas State team with weapons all over them? I mean, man, the storylines abound, guys. I'm so jacked up for the season, it's ridiculous.
Is Quinn Ewers actually good? Like, I mean,
Great call.
Yeah.
That is a great call. I've been saying that forever. Okay, hey, Quinn Ewers, great high school player, tremendous high school. Everybody in the country was a good high school player. I mean, I don't know how this guy can play at the college level. We don't have any idea. And we're naming him like the sixth most likely to win the Heisman Trophy or something like that. It's ridiculous.
If everybody was right about recruiting all the time,
oh man,
that job would be really boring. And they'd be like, "Oh, this kid's right. You know, here we go. Yeah." We have no idea.
In the end, recruiting has kind of led to what people do when they win national titles with the big boy stars. But at the same time, there's a lot of great stories and teams and programs. Otherwise, why does Iowa State, Baylor, Kansas State, Tech, why do they even try? And it's very rewarding when they can play with the big boys and also have a chance, which is what I think college athletics should be about. Dave, your thoughts about the little bit of time that you were able to watch Blake Shapen, who now is the starter, Bohannon at USF, South Florida. What are your thoughts, and what did you see as a former quarterback with Blake Shapen?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, Smokey, is poise. Okay, and as a quarterback, there are so many intangibles that a quarterback has to have that it makes it the most difficult position to play in the game. But his ability to be poised in taking over for Gary Bohannon, who played extremely well last year, did a lot of really good stuff. All of a sudden, here's Shapen stepping in, and you would never. It didn't even feel like it phased him, and that's what I loved about it. I mean, obviously the measurables are there. He's got a big arm. He's athletic enough to move around. He's going to be able to do some of the things you can do in the run game. I don't think you're looking for him to take off and run 60 yards for a touchdown, but he's going to be able to break you down, run for first downs, extend plays, get out of the pocket, those kind of things. But the leadership and the poise that I thought he showed late in the season to have to come in with Baylor making a championship run, a lot of pressure there, a lot of pressure to step in. These guys were all looking to him to take over, and he had not had a lot of play time. And for him to be able to step in and really for Baylor not to miss a beat and really maybe even be better in some areas with the accuracy, the way he throws the football and his ability to stretch it all over the field. That was what I was most impressed with. And I expect him to take the next step. And that's the big part about this is they made the decision. You know, Bohannon's gone, and now it's Shapen's crew, and he's got to take that next step to keep Baylor on top.
Dave, I wanted to close out with this. Texas and Oklahoma saw where Joe Castiglione and Chris Del Conte were at the THSCA meetings here in Texas yesterday.
Of course they were.
Yes.
Of course they were at the Texas high school meetings. Yeah, no question.
And they were asked about, the possibility of early exits and things like that, and they basically, toned down any talk about leaving early. And I know you can only believe so much because it is college athletics, and these two, after all, were, kind of – hey, everything's good, and the whole time we're negotiating an exit to the SEC or planning one. But do you feel like at this point that Texas and Oklahoma are in this thing to 2025, or are you still like a lot of other people who, let's see if it actually happens?
Yeah, I think I'm in the latter. I think that I don't trust that as far as I could throw it. I think that if there's going to be an exit, I think you're looking 24 seems to be kind of the drop dead time. That's Pac-12's. Their TV deal's up. Notre Dame's talked about doing something in 24 potentially. And I think that the feet are going to get a little hot for Notre Dame or for Oklahoma and Texas. They're going to want to move. And I'm not sure, guys, that ESPN's not going to step to the plate and potentially expedite that scenario as well. They may get involved from an exit fee standpoint and help them along to move them. Well, obviously, Texas has got more money than Davy Crockett, so they're not really worried about trying to find the money, right? Yeah. So I think somehow they're going to find a way to get out. I think 24 is kind of the drop dead number.
Yeah, and as the years go off, the exit fees or whatever, and there's still some penalties and all that along the way, they could probably handle that a lot better. And who knows, Dave, and I don't know, but wouldn't surprise me if they also then say, hey, Big 12, let's let them leave a year early. Let's make sure they pay what they pay, but we'll also then do something with you coming up with your TV rights. Who knows? I mean, would not surprise me the way business is run. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Great to have you on the show. Always great to be with you, Ari, Gabe, and others as well.
Well, we appreciate your contribution as you always bring us a lot of knowledge, Smokey. Appreciate you guys and what you do at 365. Sikkim 365. Appreciate all you guys.
Thank you very much. Dave Archer, Sirius XM, Big 12 Radio Network. It's a great show. They have great guests. They have a lot of different people, analysts, whatever. We appreciate his time, former Iowa State and NFL quarterback. We'll have Matt Tate today, and he